r/interactive fiction. Manifold game dev. The free demo for my 1.3 million word Twine RPG, Shepherds of Haven, is out today. I saw this when it was posted and made a little mental note. Story: you're a mage living in a world that hates magic, till demons return after centuries of absence, and suddenly your powers are in high demand. You join an elite demon-fighting militia called the Shepherds, tasked with defending humanity, even if it doesn't want your help. Alright. So, 1.3 million words without code. Customizable protagonist. 15 recruitable companions, 10 of whom are optionally romanceable. Original soundtrack, fantasy art, interactive maps, and a lush medieval UI. Play the demo. So that's what we're going to do. Look at this. Look at this slick website. Save the world or watch it burn. General features. 15 companions. Look at that. Look at the glow on the hyperlinks there. This is like a classic kind of online web game website, right? This is what I would play like back in the 90s in comp sci in middle school. Public demo, alpha build. So let's do the demo. We'll see how long it goes. Run game. This is on itch.io. It's available to play because it does not have nudity, so that's why it's still up. Let's full screen this mother. You got a little something happen. Alright. Bonus content! New game. Oh! Recommended for most players, the default intended experience as originally designed and balanced. Recruit, a more forgiving start. Makes beginning of the game a little easier, providing a small initial boost to character stats. Discounts in the shop. Let's hurt me plenty of this. Shepherds of Haven. The god's shattered body lies at your feet. The black ichor of his blood forms a strange oil slick around your boots. His flesh has begun to disintegrate, evaporating in little curls of acrid smoke. Mute, the dying god stares up at you without expression. Strike him down, a voice says from behind you. Strangely, you find that you can't turn your head to look. The speaker has a surreal, metallic quality to their voice, as if their words are formed by the blaring of a dozen unearthly trumpets all at once. There could even be multiple speakers, for all you know. You hesitate, torn between turning to confront your invisible watcher and obeying their steely commands. Does he not deserve mercy? Does he not deserve justice? Does he not deserve the slowest death imaginable? There's a reverberation through the air behind you, surprise and a little bitterness. Perhaps, the speaker says, calmly enough, he is the world ruiner, the night walker who cursed this world with the and darkened. Perhaps he does deserve to suffer. But even you do not have the strength to see that fate through. Still you hesitate. Something about this feels wrong. You avoid looking into the god's terrible, ruined eyes. Is it fear that holds you back? The voice behind you asks, impatient now. Not fear, you answer. Not fear, but wisdom. How can I know what will happen when I do this? You ask. I need time to consider the consequences. The voice behind you bursts forth like a storm from a bank of clouds. There is no time. You must destroy him now. There must be another way. There is no other way, the voice insists. If you stay your hand now, Tappet will be able to... To what? Wake up. He'll be able to... What? But you never hear the mysterious speaker's final words. Someone else has cut through them, shredding the sounds apart, tearing the scene before you into pale and ghostly tatters. When you finally force yourself to turn around and look behind you, there's nothing there. The dying god's body disappears. And slowly, with the horror inevitably of a stone plummeting to earth, you find yourself hurtling back through dense and close-fitting dreams. Wake up. Prologue. There is some fantastic effects on the text, you know. We've got the other voice in its own entire font. We've got the blurriness of some of them. Very cool. You snap back to the waking world with a sickening jolt. For a disorienting moment, you have no idea where or even who you are. Your body feels too heavy around you, as dense and clumsy as clay. It feels as if you're suffocating in your own flesh. The world around you is too dark to recognize. Then a familiar face shoves its way out of the shadows, glaring. "Boy!" it screams. We unlocked them, boys. We unlocked them. I'm not accustomed to waking my servants. If you don't get up right now, you will force me to do something drastic. The sudden tirade brings back a sense of clarity, and is mainly a rush of something like comfort. You are familiar with this person, with his role. The pale, pointed face glaring at you between tent flaps is that of your employer, Lady Prehine Naveen. Prehine? Naveen. Or rather, that of your employer's daughter. The one you've been tasked with guarding for the next several weeks as you accompany her to her wedding in Haven. Although you wouldn't consider a bodyguard to be a conventional servant, Prehine certainly does, and she's made it clear that she expects you to draw her a hot bath every morning at dawn. A glance at the rough, bluing canvas walls of your tent tells you that dawn is already at hand. Prehine, seeing your glance, shrieks, "Lay about, dolt, and paying you to laze around and daydream like a simpleton?" Do I want to be a smartass? Nah, let's be okay. Of course not, lady. My apologies. Prehine glares. Is that... I guess that's what I've settled on. Prehine? Glares. "I can do nothing with your apologies, nor do I want them," she retorts. "Can an apology bathe me? Can it feed me? No. And I should think you need to be concerned with things that can. You are responsible for my well-being." With that, her head abruptly withdraws from your tent. In a moment, you hear her flouncing away towards her own sumptuous sealskin tunic, leaving you to sit in groggy silence. You manage to emerge from your tent just as the rest of the camp begins to stir. Although she considers it beneath her, you and Prine have decided to travel with a caravan of Roman... I'm all flustered with some of these words for some reason. Caravan of Roman merchants, the Kinley Traders. A group that frequently makes the trip between Brunnen, Prehine's hometown, and Haven, the capital city of the continent, and the seat of the Autarky. Autarky? Autarky. Oh no. Fantasy words. I remember one of my favorite fantasy books book series. It was the what's it called? By Card. The one with the Oversoul that kind of like limits people's stuff, and the like female ruled world. Rashgallavac is one of the names of the people. Had a lot of weird names, but I could get through them all. But this one I can't. Priyan's father is well connected among the Norm merchants in the caravan, and has ordered you to tag along after them in their train of wagons. In addition to you, the traders are well protected by their own mercenary guards, but the concerns are more demon-oriented than the bandits Priyan thinks are waiting to kidnap and ransom her. Meet the eyes of a few of these caravan guards, as you make your way to the little brook outside of camp. Some look away when you catch their gaze, others give you a few grimaces and nods of sympathy. Most are intimidated by aspects of your appearance. You have the glowing eyes of a mage, a diminished person, after all. That alone is enough to make others give you a very wide berth. We got a clickable hyperlink. You can only shrug to yourself. You've gotten used to being alone. So this is not like presented as the other options are. And it's got this little star here. I feel like this is going to be a pop-up of some kind. Plus, only battle-hardened warriors sport scars like yours. It's enough to make these soft merchant types uneasy and skittish. Am I selecting an aspect of the tale itself? Plus, only battle-hardened warriors sport scars like yours. It's enough to make these soft merchant types uneasy and skittish around you, like frightened rabbits trying to pretend a predator isn't in their midst. Not only that, but tattoos have something of a bad reputation in these parts. You catch quite a lot of people trying not to stare at the ink on your skin. They even stare at the many sharp, glittering rings lining your fingers. Not only there for decoration, but in a pinch they make an unarmed punch a mean. They make an unarmed punch a mean and cut and blow. People probably sense that about you. Worry. Alright, you know what? Okay, how many are there? I want tattoos. That was the first one. Yeah, tattoos. Oh, shit. That is sick. Oh! There we go. So now we can pick multiple, I guess, if we want. Okay. Huh. I like this. Tattoos and rings. The camp, which consists of about a dozen wagons and 3 dozen merchants, begin to fill with the sounds of clinking pots and crackling wood. Your nose catches the scents of campfire smoke, reheating porridge, and the woody-smelling bags of oats that are given to the horses. The kindly traders break their fast well and early, hoping to get their traveling done in as much daylight as possible. It's only Preen who takes her time getting ready in the mornings. She often sniffs that beauty is a bride's only commodity, and something far more valuable than any merchant's fruits or silks. The sounds of camp slowly recede as you make your way to the foaming brook, where you'll collect Preheen's bath water. The only other person kneeling at the water's edge is Kane, one of the merchant's apprentices. 12 and precocious, you've noticed him staring at you openly before, but you've never actually spoken. His look brightens when he sees you bending down across from him. You notice that he's washing his hands in the river, cleansing them of blood. Kane notices you staring and holds his Kane notices you staring and holds his dripping hands up with a grin. A chicken, he says. Killed him a few minutes ago. For the one god. Ah. Though you haven't actually witnessed it, the Norns in this group perform an animal sacrifice at dawn every day, dedicating their kill to their patron one god. They believe the sacrifice will please Zur, and that ensures Z will continue to safeguard the group from coming across an endarkened creature. Such sacrifices have never been commonplace until recently, you think, but then again, neither have demonic attacks. Isn't it upsetting to slaughter an animal every day? Kane shrugs. Nah, gotta do it for dinner lots of nights. This isn't any different, except I don't get to eat it afterwards. Interesting. is all you say as you begin to fill your bucket with water. It'll take several trips to fill Preen's little tin bathtub, several more to heat it all over a meager campfire. Kane watches you perform this mundane task with interest before blurting, "Why can't you use magic to do that?" You just look at him. Kane's face reddens, but he plows on. "I mean, I know it's illegal, of course, but no one's watching except me, and I won't tell. None of the autochs, inquisitors, would make it all the way out here, and it seems like it'd be way easier instead of hauling it up bucket by bucket." "I can't show you any magic, but I can show you this." These ones have question marks. And this one has just an arrow. I think this one probably progresses, and these ones just kind of draws out the dialogue. It's too great a risk. Yeah, see, and then we still got that one. Magic and other non-norm gifts have been outlawed by the autarky. Oh my God! For the past 200 years, ever since the castigation, anyone caught using it without government permission is executed on sight. A fate you're not too keen on meeting, especially for the sake of Preen's morning bath. And even though you're fairly certain there are no inquisitors in the Kinley traders, you can never be sure who's still willing to report you to the Autarch's death squads in exchange for a reward. As they say, the eyes of the Sun Court shine everywhere. Best not to take that chance. Kane's little face turns gloomy when you tell him this. "I suppose so," he admits, "but I just think it's a shame." Then he looks around and bites his lip, cutting himself off. Alright, I can show him my weapon. You tell yourself that the boy is simply curious, and that he'll be easily distracted by some flashy trick or another. Alright, now I get to choose a weapon. What do they got for me? We got a sword. A gun. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. One of the most startling aspects of the first Terrifier film is when Art the Clown just pulls out a gun and blasts. What kind of horror villain does that? Absurd. Love it. I'm handy with the bow and arrow. I want a sucker for bows and arrows, honestly. If I can play a bow and arrow doer, guy, archer, ranger dude in a game, I like to do that. Battered bow and quiver, dagger, sword. Alright. I'm handy with the bow and arrow, you offer, showing him the battered bow and quiver slung across your back. But Kane is uninterested in this earthly weaponry. It's clear he only wants to know about one thing. He blurts out, "Have you ever done any magic?" The question gives you pause. In fact, you have performed magic throughout your life, though you've kept that secret on pain of death. Magic in the autarky is strictly outlawed and regularly snuffed out by inquisitors, but people like you, mages like you, have persevered in keeping the gift alive regardless, either through rigorous and furtive self-teaching, apprenticeship to secret mentors, or training in clandestine circles. Despite yourself, your mind flashes back on your past. Select your education. Self-taught, journeyman, circle trained. So, self-taught, seems pretty obvious. Circle trained also seems pretty obvious. Like, like a group of mages trained you, or like you joined some sort of like school of magic to be taught. I'm not quite sure what journeyman might mean. But I feel like self-taught probably has like an edge of dangerousness to it. So let's go with self-taught. Okay, it gives us a little thing. You taught yourself magic through stolen books. Okay. Stolen books. You were apprenticed to the traveling scholar Belnus Farplane. Ooh, a wandering mage. Huh. I kind of like that. More articulate, well-read, and informed mage than most. Let's go with that. Of course, you can't tell Kane any of this, so you just say, "None of your business, kid." I like that one, because that one, it's like you're telling him no, but he probably really knows what you're telling him. Kane's face crumples. "Oh," he says. "Right." Suddenly, an ear-splitting shriek pierces the peaceful glen, with its bubbling brook and the morning air drowsy and golden with pollen. Kane visibly jumps. He looks around, pale-faced, as if expecting a demon to come barreling out of the trees behind you. You roll your eyes and get to your feet. It's just Her Eminence, you tell the boy, who relaxes, wanting to know why I'm taking so long. Oh, Kane says. Then he gives you a pitying look. A galling expression to receive from someone so young. How'd you end up serving the likes of her anyway? You think bleakly of your dream from last night, rapidly fading in the growing summer sunlight. That feeling of not knowing who you were or what you were supposed to do. A feeling that you've carried with you all your life. That all diminished have been burdened with, most likely. If it were 3 centuries ago, it might have been Preheen serving you. That, you tell Kane firmly, is a long story. One for another time. As the two of you begin to walk back to camp, the boy suddenly asks, "What's your name, anyway?" Preheen has only ever referred to you as idiot or scoundrel. Some of the other merchants have deigned to address you as mage. It's been a while since anyone has addressed you by your first name. Cataract? Isaac. Zephyrin, Celestin. Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. I'm tempted to just put in a very, uh, um, you know, boring modern name. Samfire? All right, let's just pick a random one. All right, we're gonna go Nokomis Quinlan. All right, Triumph the insult iconic mage. I'm gonna be Ember, the mage named Ember. Ember Watermore. You tell the boy your full name. Ember Watermore? Kane repeats. No, you misheard me. Yeah, that's right. Kane beams at you, as bright and cheery as anything. Glad to meet you, Ember. He chirps, with the earnest sincerity only a 12-year-old can possess. It's the first time anyone said those words to you in a while. You try not to let the thought depress you. Bestiary. Off Fury? Oh my god, we got a friggin' scroll bar here. That's what this is. I didn't realize what that was. Can I click and drag? I cannot click and drag. Okay. A week passes by. Your caravan leaves the western territories of Kinley and Brunnen behind, the grey ashlands receding, turning into the scruffy grasslands of the Danber Plains. During the day, Praheen, thankfully, elects to ride in her bedecked carriage, fanning herself on a pile of cushions. She only lifts the curtain, hiding her face from the common folk, to tell you to pass her some water or a snack, or to instruct the rest of the van to stop so that she may relieve herself. Normally, the thought of an aristocratic lady squatting in the bushes would strike you as funny, but as you are the one receiving the brunt of the other's glares, you try to keep your expressions neutral and professional. Every now and then you spot a hare bounding through the tall, golden grass with the shadows of an Ofiri and its rider leaping across the plain. Once you pass the shield peaks, you'll be in the Valley of the Sun's Embrace, a huge expanse of land with a plateau at its center. In your mind's eye, you can already see what sits on top of that plateau. The legendary White Towers of Haven. Arrayed like a crown, the tiered city that represents the pinnacle of Blessed. It really isn't that nice, Kane informs you matter-of-factly. He's taken to following you around lately, whenever he doesn't have other chores to do for the caravan. He's already been to Haven many times. It's kind of dirty and smelly, at least in the lower districts, because of all the factories. Conte by the Sea is way nicer. It's not sightseeing I'm going to Haven for, you tell him, nudging your stout mare back into place in the train. Kane's eyebrows lift. What are you going for, then? Freen's father hired you out of Brunnen for this bodyguarding job, and this job alone. Once you see her safely wedded to some consortium politician in Haven, you'll be free to do whatever you want. But what is it that you want? Why do you want to go to the continent's capital, the very seat of power for the autarky? Before we answer, let's click this. Oh. Ooh! Oh! So is this glossary, like, complete from the get-go? Children of Light? Dawn Wars, Denar. Some stuff we've seen. Any gifted humanoid race besides the Norns. Elves, hunters, ket, mages. Huh. Okay. Farspeak. Okay. A fast cat-like steed, a little larger than a horse. Originally a wild plains cat, Alfuria are the preferred method of travel across rocky terrain, scalable mountains, and open grassland. They are quite fast, but are not marathon runners. Though they have useful hunting and fighting capabilities, they are often difficult to train and are frequently banned in populated cities. That's cool. I love you get the little pop-up, right, which is enough to get you going. You see what's there and you're good, right? But you click and you go to that full glossary thing. Like, that is sick, man. I'm pretty I've been interested in Twine for a long time, and the few times that I play a game that's made in it, it's always so different from the others. It seems like it's a very flexible thing, and I'm quite excited. I really wanna dive into that at some point. I've got like two game things that I want to do, one that I've started on, and I gotta like see those through, and then I'll get to some other stuff. All right, what are we doing? Um, the seat of the government sits in Haven. I want to study my enemy, those who serve the Otaki. Even if I can't legally use my magic, a city like Haven is sure to have a wealth of resources and opportunities for an enterprising soul like myself. Let's go with must hold the secrets to understanding the Endarken problem and why demons are invading our world once again. Kane is quiet for a while, absorbing this. Everett says that the Altok is sick, he says finally, that she's not powerful enough to drive back the Endarkened in her state. That's why they're coming back. That no one knows who her heir is going to be, because she has two sons and one's a bastard, and that everyone in Haven is afraid. He looks at you, and you note that his eyes are shining with the kind of excitement and admiration fit for a great hero. Maybe you can do something about that. You don't have the heart to tell him the Autark already has many great mages in her employ. Some of the only ones sanctioned to freely use magic in the entire continent. If they haven't been able to solve her problems, you doubt they'd give a diminished bodyguard a shot. Another time, while your caravan training is rumbling over the low hills, Kane asks you about the castigation. I mean, what was it anyway? He asks. They talk about it in church, but no one ever says what really happened. You know what? I gotta treat this little fucker like he's an adult. Alright, I'm not gonna talk down to this guy. You talk to him about it in great detail as if he were an adult. You commend the boy's desire to learn. Holy moly. The castigation was a great war that took place 200 years ago, you tell him, between the diminished, though at the time they were called the gifted, and the norms. His brow furrows. Why did they go to war? There are many different reasons, the first and foremost being the old faith. He looks around, a little uneasily, as if he knows that the words are forbidden, but is unsure why. Still, when his eyes return to you, they look fever-bright with interest. Old Faithful? Old Faith? You nod. At one point, the majority of people in Bless believed in the old gods, a summit of many different deities and beings. They believed this summit created all the children of light, the elves, the mages, the ket, the hunters, the norms, and everyone else. Kane nods, digesting this new information, like the one God. Right, except in the teachings of the old faith, it was believed that some of the children of light were blessed by the gods more than others, whereas the one God is said to have created everyone equally. Why else were the elves born with such long lives? Why were the ket given their armor, the mages their magic, the hunters their ability to slay demons? The norms were left out, Kane says, realizing. Not given powers and the like. Right. And so for a long time the Norms were mistreated badly, looked down upon by other races as last-born or cursed, forgotten by the gods. Eventually their resentment for this treatment boiled over, and erupted into what became known as the castigation. Kane shakes his head. But how did we, win? Against magic and all that. You had guns, you tell him bluntly, and mass production and large-scale agriculture. Some say that God's gift to the Norns was inventiveness, the ability to adapt. They had to be able to compete with the other races, and they did so with technology. They also had the numbers, Norm families can have 4, 5, 6 children to an elf's family's one. And an elf child takes decades to reach maturity, whereas Norm sons and daughters can grow up into soldiers like that. He starts at the emphatic snap of your fingers. You sigh. Anyway, after the gifted lost the war, the castigation, they became the diminished, and the Norms established the autarky and outlaw all manner of magic and gift. That's why you won't see me filling Preen's bath any other way than the normal one. Kane is silent for a long time, so long that you wonder if you've overloaded his mind with information. He's a merchant's apprentice, so he knows how to read and write, and yet he knows so little about the world and its history. You wonder briefly if it's a result of his Norm upbringing, or if it's the efforts of the autarky to erase the past. So the Norms got mistreated before, he says finally, slowly. Then the castigation happened, and now we're on top and get to treat the diminished like cack? Look around quickly and hush him. You can't draw your own conclusions, you say. But anything beyond fact is not my domain. I can only tell you what happened. Kane nods, looking unhappy. Then he says, do you believe in the one God of the old faith? Alright. Okay, this is fun. This is very interesting. I love the presentation. I love all the story stuff. I love the the options being presented to you in text form, like within the narrative presentation itself. So fun, so fun. I see right here we got an option to lie. This is like really, really cool. There's gonna be a link below. I'm gonna keep playing it. This is about like 30-ish minutes of it. I don't know how far into the actual game the demo is. But I'm gonna keep playing it, and I think you should play it too. Go do some different options. Be a gun wielding mage if you want. Very cool. Very excited. Shepherds of Haven on itch.io.